Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of Game Design 909. And today I have with us one of the brightest stars in the galaxy of Indian game development. And I have Himanshu Manwani, who is the founder of Xigma Games. Now, I met him for the first time several years ago when he entered a game along with me for a contest and he won. So he is a multi-talented guy who's also a game designer. He's an entrepreneur. He runs his own studio. So without further ado, over to Himanshu. Welcome to Game Design 909.
Thank you, Rahul. Thank you for having me on the podcast. It's great to be here.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your studio, please.
So I think you gave such a great introduction already, and that I don't have much words anymore. But yeah, I run a small indie studio called Xigma Games along with my co-founder Govardhan, and we have released 4 games till now. All of them did pretty well for us. They were featured by Apple, they were featured by Google, and we started back in 2015. That's where we met at Pocket Gamer Connect.
Right. Exactly. At Pocket Game Mechanics. Exactly. Which was the game at that time? It was
It was
running
it was Super Nano Jumpers.
Super Nano Jumper. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Awesome.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your journey, how you got started making video games. Like tell us a little bit about your background, your education, etc., and your journey as a game maker and as a game designer.
So I always I grew up playing games. I loved games. As in when I was 6 years old, my parents bought me that that Chinese made console which were copy of the Nintendo. And like I think every one of us grew up playing those games in our childhood, and that's where I think something hit, something came in, and I just wanted to make games. But it wasn't like that I wanted to make games. Like it wasn't there from starting. When I was doing my engineering during that time, I realized that I really want to do this. So I was doing my engineering from Bhopal in computer science. After that, I did my postgrad in game development. During that time, I realized that what actually game development is, and because our notion is completely different when we are just about to enter into the industry, and then it completely changes when you actually get into it.
Right.
And you realize how hard it is and how difficult it is. There are so many different pieces coming in together. So that was an eye opening. And then after that, I worked for about 4 years in a game company called RZ2 Games, which is based out of Goa.
Okay. So basically, after you finished your आपने college खत्म करके, your first thing was to do a job, because a lot of people ask me, बहुत लोग मुझे पूछते हैं कि राहुल मुझे entrepreneur बनना है, मुझे अपना गेम स्टूडियो स्टार्ट करना है, राइट? और कहते हैं कि मैं कॉलेज में हूँ, मैं कॉलेज खत्म करूंगा, मैं इमीडिएटली मैं एंटरप्रेन्योर बन जाऊंगा एंड आई एम गोइंग टू मेक माय ओन गेम। मैं बोलता हूँ देखो यार, ठीक है, यू वांट टू बी एन एंटरप्रेन्योर, ठीक है, लेकिन सबसे पहले नौकरी करो कहीं, वर्क समवेयर एंड एक्चुअली अंडरस्टैंड द प्रोसेस ऑफ मेकिंग गेम्स बिफोर यू स्टार्ट ऑन योर जर्नी। तो ये जो आपने नौकरी की, आपने जॉब किया, डिड इट हेल्प यू?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was, I think without it, I wouldn't have gained the experience and the exposure, which I think is very, very important in this industry. Without it, you can't sustain very long. Like you will make mistakes, you will fail, and you only get limited chances in an industry like this, because you can only sustain for a limited amount of time because you have limited cash, limited like time, lot of factors come in. So I think that job really helped me a lot to understand how the industry works, and gave me insights and helped me learn. Like it helped me craft my own skill, which I later took it further after quitting. But that was, I think, the foundation of it, which was very much required.
Right. So what would you say, as a game maker, what is your core skill? Like as a game making, what is your core skill which you think you bring to the table?
Like since I grew up playing those infinite amount of games, like I breathe and I eat and I played games like all 24/7. So I think that somewhere like formed an unconscious ideas or something, or some formation in terms of game design or game development, or an idea of like what a good game can be. Then
Right.
it was all,
So your understanding, so what you're saying is that the number of games that you played, it
yeah,
really developed you to have an understanding of what a good game is. So you have a very good, deep, instinctive understanding that if you see a game, if you come up with a game idea, this will work. People will like this.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, definitely. And then after that, I think the market insights, we do a lot of market research, because we know what works and what doesn't work, and so that we apply that of what we are going to make next.
mhm.
So that helps us to mitigate the risk involved. We take very calculated risk when it terms of what we are making and who we are making for. So understanding that audience is also, I feel that is very important, that who we are making for, what we are making, and why we want to make. So
That's amazing. So basically, your market research before you get into a game, before you actually
yeah,
start making something, how long would you say you do your market research before actually jumping into game? Like your pre-production and market research, how thorough and how long is that?
I think that is always going on. Like even we are doing it, even if we are making a game currently, we are still always figuring out what is currently going or what is gonna come next or what is working out. And also there's a lot of things like what we can achieve. It's also, we have to look at our strengths, that what we can achieve with that much budget that we have, how much we can attain in that limited amount of time with those resources that we have. I think that hitting that target is very important. Otherwise, we overscope it, because think like someone can come up that I want to make GTA,
Right.
but
No, people
it's
do. People do come up
you,
with, I want to make GTA, and they make it, and
yeah,
most people can't make it, right?
yeah,
Most people
yeah,
cannot make GTA. So that's a great point, that there's one thing which the market wants, and then
yeah,
that's one circle, and then there is a
yeah,
circle of what we can do. And there's a very
right,
little bit area of intersection of these two circles,
right.
which is where our capabilities, your capabilities as a studio lie. So finding that is key, and I think you've done that. So you tell us, like, can you quickly tell us about the games that you've made, that you put out there?
So 2015, that's where we first time met. So at that time, I just quit my job, and I was a solo developer at that time. I went home Bhopal and I worked day and night on a game called Super Nano Jumpers, which eventually won the Pocket Gamer Connect, and which had a prize money of 10 lakh rupees. So that was a bench, like that set a sort of a ground work for me, and that made me realize that yes, it's possible. It gave
No,
me a
and that
confidence.
money would have been a good
Yes,
seed for you to start, right?
definitely, definitely. It acted as our seed money. And then later on, in 2016, my co-founder, who was at that time working in China for a gaming company. We both worked in a gaming company previously in RZ2 Games. Govardhan and I both were colleagues in RZ2 Games, and we are both from the same college. So in 2016, we both moved down to Bangalore and started working on our next game called Rubik.
Mhm.
He did the programming, I did the game design and level design at that time. So that also did pretty well. It took about 8 months to finish, and that got featured in Apple, and it got a banner feature.
It
So
was a premium game, right?
yeah, it was a premium game. At 2016, we saw that puzzle games were doing great, and they were getting featured. Actually, this was 2014, 2015 time,
Hmm.
where puzzle games were getting featured a lot on the App Store. So
Right.
that was the insight that we took from just by browsing App Store every Friday when it used to get refreshed, that
Right.
what is getting featured, what is the scope of the premium games at that time.
Hmm.
So we realized at that time that we could get enough to survive 1 to 1.5 years if we could achieve it
Right. So you chose specifically, you said,
specifically.
okay, our niche is going to be mobile, it's going to be premium games. And obviously, premium games are mostly on the App Store on Apple, right? So
Yeah,
that is a niche I think that is a niche you decided on. And then everything, your art, your design, everything was catering to that target market, and you hit it off, right?
yeah, yeah. That was the whole idea. Like that was the like only idea to actually nail that particular market, premium mobile puzzle, because that it was going good at that time. So it did decent for us. Like it did good enough for us to survive for 1.5 years for two of us. We were just two people at that time.
Mhm.
Then my co-founder Govardhan, he had an idea of bonfire, the bonfire for second lands, the first one. So then that work started on it in 2017,
Mhm.
and that went on for 1.5 years almost. It got released in 2018,
Mhm.
which did like phenomenal for us. Like we honestly didn't expect something like if for that we didn't expect it to do that well because we went like 4x to 5x
Of
from
your
our previous one.
expectations. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. So that kind of blew off, and that did great. It was featured on Apple. It got Game of the Day by Apple. At that time, Game of the Day was very prominent
Mhm.
because they just started featuring the Game of the Day on the App Store, and it reached US top charts in top five, and it stayed there for 2 weeks.
Wow, that's amazing, man. I remember seeing that game and I was like, wow, this game is made in India. I couldn't believe it. And I was like, oh my God, this is Xigma Games, Himanshu. And I was like, oh wow, I know this guy, I know this game. That's amazing. So tell us a little bit about now your game design process. So in your
Yeah.
so now you have a team of seven, right? And essentially you're the one who does a game design, you do the level design. Is it just you, or do you
No.
have someone else also on the design side working with you now?
So Govardhan and I, we both do game design actually.
So it's
We
you.
both are equally involved in game design completely like all the time we're having this conversations what can we do if it's better or not because I think it gets a lot of work for a single person
Mhm.
and sometimes you sometimes you need someone to throw ideas to
Exactly. The most amazing thing about game design is that you can have an idea and you can sit with
yeah
somebody and you have that bouncing back and
yeah
forth.
yeah
And then what happens when comes out at the end is something completely different, right?
yeah
It,
definitely
it
I get it
it snowballs. It's not
yeah
even 1 plus 1, it's
yeah
like 10 times the amount.
yeah
So to
yeah
having someone as a designer, having someone with a design mind to sit down and actually talk about ideas, etc., is
mm.
amazing. So what about level design? Which one of you actually does the level design, you or him, Govardhan?
So for Super Nana Jumpers and Rubik, I did the level design because that's something that was my Rubik and Super Nana Jumpers were kind of like my idea. So I was more involved in the level design and game design. Uh, Govardhan was more involved in Bonfire. It was his idea. The Bonfire was Govardhan's idea. So he was more involved. So he did mostly design work for the Bonfire. Govardhan did. And for Bonfire too, we were equally involved because it was such a complex game, which had so many layers and layers of gameplay and depth. So we were both equally involved, and like I know as you said, while we discuss the ideas, it's just snowballs, and the idea evolves over time.
Evolves.
So
Exactly.
so when we make game, we don't know what the end goal is. We never know
It
that
kind of
what
makes itself, the game kind of, you are just guiding it along. The game is, it's essentially, the game is kind of creating itself as it goes along, kind of with your guidance a little bit, right?
right. It's like you are figuring out. It's like you are scraping that dirt and you are finding this like legendary item. Like it's like that.
So now, tell us a little bit about, as a player, tell us a little bit about what games you like to play, and of course, what games you would like to play, but you don't have the time for.
Uh, we have to make time sometimes, but yeah, I mean, I've been playing a lot less these days, like from past many years, but because can't afford that much time. But I love playing Dark Souls games. I love Soul series. I'm a huge Bloodborne fan. I'm almost at the ending of Elden Ring, which I've been playing for two and a half months. That is the only
Wow.
game I
Okay.
play currently. I play about 1.5 hours, like sometimes on weekends, but I've been playing for 2.5 months now, and it's almost at the end. So I love Soul series.
Nice, fantastic. And so which is the game that you want to play? Like you're like, man, I wish I could play this game. I don't have the time. Is there any game like
I think the list is endless. Like I can just go on. If I had to take one name, I would say No Man's Sky,
No Man's Sky?
which has been updated quite. Like I've heard, like it has a lot of content now, but I think
Yeah,
because
I know. I've been looking to get into it, but I have like such an like I played Halo
Hmm.
for like a couple of hours, a couple of months ago. No, I almost finished the game, but I didn't finish it. But it's just like
Mhm.
that. When you start making games, you just don't
Yeah.
have the time to make games, right? So,
Right.
so as a player, you know the archetypes, right? So which archetype would you be, do you think? Or a mix of what
Hmm.
archetype would you be as a player?
That's interesting. I mean, I think it evolves over time.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was years back, if I look, I would call myself competitive because
Uh-huh.
I used to play a lot of competitive games at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Competitive FPS like Call of Duty multiplayer, Battlefield multiplayer. At that
Mm-hmm.
time, I was very competitive, but then I realized that I have to move away from competitive game because I can't afford that much time.
Right?
Then I think I love RPG games. I
Mm-hmm.
love collecting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I uh, yeah, I love collecting. I love building my own character. Uh, so yeah, RPG kind of
Right.
genre is my favorite genre. Like
Right. Awesome. So I think you're more of an explorer,
yeah,
more of an
yeah,
explorer, more of a collector.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. Makes sense. Yeah,
Fair enough. And you've evolved from the competitive killer to this, which is actually quite normal for most
yeah,
people who play games.
yeah.
Right. Right. Awesome. So now, tell us about your first ever game. Was your first ever game Super Nano Jumpers, or did you make something before that? That your first ever game?
First ever game was at my college in when I was studying. It was called Break In, and the story was uh, there's a guy, he has to see his girlfriend, and you have to break in a girl's hostel, and
That's crazy. Wow, that's such a cool idea. You have to it's like a stealth game in which you
it
have
was
to.
a stealth platformer where you have to watch out from guards, you have to collect keys, you have to give someone uh, chocolates to gain information.
Do the chocolates have drugs or are they just normal chocolates?
Normal chocolates.
Okay, okay, okay. So
And you
how
have to
did
yeah,
I totally want to play that game, dude. I totally want to play that game.
and it was just a college project, like nothing much. I was just learning at that time.
Okay. Yeah.
it,
So
it was it was made in action script at that time, Flash.
Flash. My
Yes,
game, my first game at my school was also made in Flash. So I guess at that time that was the thing to make
yeah,
Flash
that was the
game.
thing. 2010, 2011, that was like
Yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
like yeah,
It was a thing. Flash games
yeah.
and action script was a thing at that time. I know, right? So cool. All right. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is it's time for the spicy seven. So I have seven spicy questions that I'm going to be firing at the unsuspecting Himanshu, and you have to answer them very, very quickly. I'm not going to give you time to think. All right. So let's go with the spicy seven. Favorite fictional universe. Now, this does not have to be from a game. What is your favorite fictional universe?
Fictional universe. Fallout 3, I would say. Fallout.
Ah, nice one.
Post-apocalyptic. I love that.
Nice. Me too. I'm a apocalyptic junkie as well. Game with best story and narrative.
Last of Us.
Last of Us, man. I
My
most
no
people,
doubt.
no
No
doubt,
doubt
like
about it.
most people answer
Yeah.
the same game. All right.
Yeah.
Game that you like to play, but you suck at,
Hmm. I think sports games like FIFA,
right?
like
Okay.
sport. I suck at sports games, and that is not my type. FIFA and like, but yeah, I would like to play. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Your favorite video game character.
Geralt of Rivia.
Ah, that's a nice one. Okay. Most overrated game.
Most overrated game. Okay. Okay. I might get a little flack
Don't
over
worry
here.
about it. This is, you can say whatever
Okay.
you like. The last podcast, Huzaifa actually said Mario. Okay. So you can, you can say whatever you feel.
Okay. I would say PUBG.
Oh man, I don't really play it, but okay, I sympathize. Nice one. Okay, a lot of flack coming your way for that one.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, okay. The last and the spiciest one is, tell me one Indian game studio. If you had $1 million to invest, and
Hmm.
there's one game studio that you would invest in India, which studio would that be?
Can I choose only one, or can I
Only
just
one,
play?
and it can't be
Only?
yours. It can't be yours, and
Yeah,
it's
of
only
course.
one.
I can't choose two.
No, only one.
I can't choose.
Okay, fine. For you, I'll make it two. You can split
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
You can choose two.
Yeah, because you're putting me on the spot over here now.
Okay, two.
So the first one I would say is Nodding Head Studio.
Right? The Raji
And
guys,
the
right?
Raji guys. Yeah.
Mhm.
And second one I say Hypernova.
Hypernova.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Good investment, my friend. Good investment. आपके पैसे definitely double हो जाएंगे. Fantastic. All right, guys. So I guess that's all for today. It's been awesome to have you here. And also, guys, in the links of this video, you will find the website to Xigma Games. You will find Himanshu's LinkedIn profile. And to get to know all about him and what he does in a studio, have a look at the links in the description of this video. So thank you so much once again, Himanshu, for appearing on Game Design 909. And we hope that this is just the start. Hoping to have you back on this podcast once again. And thank you so much for being here. I'll see you around.
Thank you, Rahul. It was a great pleasure.